You want me to stand up there where I'm going to be?
No, I was just getting that presentation framed in. I'm good now.
Gotcha.
It shows up because sometimes, on this, sometimes the PowerPoints, without good color contrast, make it. Okay. Go ahead and get started.
Oh, good.
Sure.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right. Well, welcome everyone to Rocky Mountain Inventors. I guess there might be a few new people here. So we're the Rocky Mountain Inventors Association. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. Been around since 1978 in various forms. And our overall mission is to help people turn a product into a business. It's the biggest challenge. Getting prototypes made, you can get a patent or trademark, but getting your business going is definitely the most tricky part because there's so many different ways to do it. Anyway, I'll make announcements on a few upcoming meetings. We're on a bit of a hiatus until the December 9th. Melanie Romero's coming and she does pet products. She's got a lot of stuff on Amazon. She's dealt with Amazon infringers, so that might be good if that's something you'd be interested in. The second Monday, I think it's January 13th, we've got Molly Kulkowski from the Denver Patent Office coming for presentation. And then the late January meeting, which I think is the 23rd, is the fourth Monday, Dave Sarcano is coming, and he's 3D printing metal and plastic. So if you have any of those needs, it'd be good to come from there. And then in early February, we have a management specialist coming. Anyway, if you've got an idea or product and you haven't already publicly disclosed it, you should keep it confidential, so you don't start your disclosure timeline, because if you disclose or take it public, you have a year to get a U.S. patent filed, or you have to have your foreign filed at the time of disclosure before, so it's best to keep it secret. Anyway, we'll do a little round robin, and everyone take a minute or two and introduce yourself and what you've got going on. So we'll start with Matt.
Sure. Matt Brown, my second time here, and I've been in the process of developing this fine traction decompression device, and got a patent back in January after a couple of long years and a lot of legal expenses, so I got it done. Some of the manufacturing stage now, I have a factory in China and doing some of the parts in Vietnam, kind of now looking at USA, domestic options, manufacturing platforms where I can outsource the parts here. So just trying to get as much info as I can.
Good. Okay, great.
Got 100 ideas, new products that are in process of development, and not made any commitment on anything because I stay pretty busy. But so I kind of listen to some people talk about how far they're along and what they're doing, and get more inspired.
Okay, Patrick?
My name is Patrick Mogg. I'm Regional Director for the Denver Regional Office for Veterans Launchpad. I also have a products group. Primarily what we do is help vendors manufacture things around the world, whether that be in China, Vietnam, or wherever. And bring those products to market too, so do a lot of test marketing for clients too.
Okay, I can't see your name in the red, but go ahead.
My name is Marissa. I've been a hygienist for every day. Pretty creative. I've been coming up with tons of ideas over the years, and recently stumbled across one and couldn't find it on the internet, and thought it would be amazing to have, and that I know it would interest pretty much every person in this room to have something like this. It's so cool. But I don't know, I just really wanted to get into this because it's something that's been really on my mind lately, and I was really excited when I saw there was a vendors thing, and so I just want to learn today.
Okay. And
Yes, Scott Daniels, I'm a builder,
and have a number of ideas, and just came to get a scoop on what this gentleman has to say about product development, and looking to learn more about it.
Good. And Joe?
Joe Denelak, I'm CEO of Water Blocks, and we are in the middle of a crowdfunding process. I started mentioning that we're finally within 7 shareholders of reaching 400 shareholders. So we're doing quite well, we think, on our fundraising, and we just returned from Oklahoma City, where our manufacturer is making all the internal components, and we'll install them in our new prototypes that we've just had rotomolded out of plastic in Minneapolis 2 weeks ago, and we'll be testing those in the next 2-3 weeks. So we're quite thrilled with our progress.
Great, okay.
Mike Fox, I helped Joe.
I wouldn't be here if he wasn't.
Dash Williams, let's see, long illustrious career of procrastination on ideas. A couple of them I've seen come to fruition from someone else, so I finally put my foot back down. I haven't been back in a couple of years, but I got some ideas I want to see, at least try to get through. But getting off my butt and doing something. But it's kind of a bad feeling when you see something that you thought of, and then, because, you know, everybody thinks it's only them that thinks of it, but trust me, how many people think?
If you thought of it, someone else did too.
Yeah,
And the winner is the person who makes it real.
yeah, first one.
Because they kill off all the trade secrets.
That's it.
Okay, Desi?
And I have a product that is, I'm currently selling. I have a business and I'm selling. It's not patentable in its current state, but I determined a design change that I could make it unique and be patentable. So I'm here to kind of learn about the patent process, but idea number 4, I could use the information of this that's in this presentation tonight. So, but that's a long way from use. I mean, I'm not like a normal one of you guys with idea after idea after idea. It's just bringing them to market. It's a challenge.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Roberto?
I'm Roberto Ruschena. I'm a patent agent. I'm an electrical engineer. I've been practicing patent law for about 15 years now. I'm the US correspondent of a few Italian law firms. So I'm getting patent application from Europe. They're already been filed in the European Patent Office and to the PCT. So I do the filing and prosecution here in the US.
Okay, and I'm Roger Jackson. I organize the meetings and everything, and Roberto and I are board members. And I'm a patent attorney, so you can ask, you know, intellectual property questions, patent questions with Roberto and I. Anyway, our speaker is Mike Messaros. He's an engineer and mechanical, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and Mike and I have worked together, I think, since about 2001.
Oh my gosh, guy. No. Well,
Or
yeah,
three,
something,
maybe. I don't know.
something like
It's been
that,
a while.
long time ago. Long time ago.
And so Mike, you guys have a lot of interesting projects, from individuals to the US government,
Mhm.
everything in between. So I'll turn it over to him, and please ask questions anytime during the presentation.
Thanks, Roger. Hello, everyone. Thanks very much for coming. As Roger said, my name is Michael Messaros. I'm along with my wife, we're the co-owners of engineering design and development firm up in Boulder. Name of our company is Applied Design Corporation. Let's see here, Roger. What do I need to do to get this to advance here? Press that arrow. Okay, so what I'm going to do is tell you a little bit about me, a little bit about the company, delve somewhat into the definition of a product and the marketing of a product. Give you my perspective on the key research and development elements, then the key business elements, all that needs to play together, and then key inventor qualities. It's often just as much about the people as the product. Actually, maybe more so the people than the product. I'll tell you a couple of case studies, and then time for questions and answers. Although, if you want to, feel free to just jump right in. This is just an informal talk. You can jump in with a question, raise your hand, and I'll be happy to try to address it. Okay. Let's see. A lot of busyness here. Let me tell you a little bit about me. So I'm a mechanical engineer by training and profession. Basically like a 40-year guy. I worked for Ball Aerospace. I worked for several different companies in my career, but I worked for Ball Aerospace for the longest time. I worked for them for, I don't know, I think a couple of months shy of my 15-year pocket knife. It was kind of time to get out of there before I was just not happy. And so back in 2001, my wife and I, we started this small engineering design and development firm called Applied Design Corp. My wife's non-technical. She helps me out with finance, strategy, human resources, and what have you. But I'm basically the CEO and the chief technical officer, basically. Again, what had happened at Ball Aerospace, they built exquisite space instruments of all kinds. And I did, toward the end of my tenure there, I did kind of get into the product development aspect, of which Ball's not really that good at. They were great at building one-off of elegant things, but I was more interested in seeing the development of products that you could sell again and again in volume, basically. And so I guess I learned just enough there as far as the entrepreneurial aspect of things to be dangerous, and convinced my wife that leaving my perfectly good job was a good idea, and started Applied Design back in 2001. We're a small firm up in Boulder. We've grown to about 10 people. It's mostly engineers, mechanical, software. We have a couple of associates that help us out with electrical. And so I guess most of our work is really nuts and bolts engineering, design, and development for both government and private sector clients. But there is another aspect to, and I apologize for this slide here, but little laser pointer right here. There's three aspects to our business. The product development piece, which is the nuts and bolts engineering, design, and development of innovation to take a concept and turn it into a product. Bad timing on that. Don't restart. The second aspect of our business is what we call our management solutions. And this is where we have some expertise amongst myself and some other associates of ours, where we are able to help our clients with moving products towards the marketplace. And then the third aspect is more of a human resources function, where we'll send specialty type folks, managers and engineers to other companies for short-term assignments. But it's the combination of the product development expertise and the management expertise, where we're able to create kind of an enterprise building capability for our clients. And I'll explain a little bit more on that as I go through. So it's a dual function kind of thing. Folks come to us with a product concept, and sometimes we say, this looks like a really good widget, but do you have a business plan? And they'll say, a lot. And, obviously they haven't done the complete thinking along the way. You have to have a very complete solution. If you read books on invention and what have you, a really important paradigm is what's called the 4 Ps. Product, pricing, placement, and promotion. The product is, you have to have a very clear definition of what your product is. What is it that you are trying to offer for sale? That seems so academic, but it's just so often there's just so much swirl. There's a great deal of lack of definition of what is the product that you're selling, and being able to articulate that, right? Happens a lot. The second aspect is, how are you going to price this product? And does that pricing back its way appropriately into the cost of manufacture, so that you know that you have adequate gross margin in being able to make money with the product? The third aspect is the placement of the product. What channels are you going to move this into in order to get it in front of consumers to make a purchasing decision? Nowadays, we've got Amazon, we've got the internet. There's a lot more capability to get now than ever to get your product in front of people. So that's a great channel. But you have to have that all mapped out. What are the placement channels that you're going to use? So you have to get that in mind as well. And then promotion, how are you going to tell people about this product? So those are the 4 Ps: product, pricing, placement, and promotion. So that's very, very important. So Marissa, right? And you're thinking about, you've got ideas and all that. So the idea is just the one thing. That's this aspect, the product, right? But you need to keep, now you know that there's 3 other things that you have to, that all needs to come together in a synergistic way, okay? Let's see, okay. So let's talk a little bit about the product design elements, and what's, what an inventor and his team need to have. Got to have strong innovation capability, either on your own or with the right team. You also need to, you also need to have a very solid risk management approach to the product. You have to take this thing in digestible bites, and you also need to be, eyes wide open in terms of what the pitfalls are for the product. Identify those early and then work to retire those as soon as possible. Not run down the end of the road, spend a bunch of money, and realize that there was a fatal flaw in the whole thing that you should have identified early on, right? You tried it. Now, so what's the approach? Define the product, which for engineers, that means identify and articulate the requirements. Engineers live by requirements. What are the requirements for the product in terms of performance, manufacturing, of course the price, which we've talked about, that's a very important thing. Consumer safety. There's a whole lot that goes into defining what the requirements are of the product. It's very easy to gloss over that and not be disciplined about requirements development, but you must not. It's very important. That's why I've restated it 3 times. Requirements, requirements, requirements. Then, again, you phase the development. Manageable, affordable steps and gates. Concept to engineering model to pre-production prototype to production. you don't just necessarily shoot for the moon right away. You have to take this thing in manageable bite-sized steps. Shoot to kill. What I mean by that is you have to be brutally honest about your product. You have to figure out what fatal flaws this may have. So many people just put blinders on thinking that, you know, any little aspect of the product that it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And you know, many times it isn't. So you end up becoming blinded to the reality of the thing. You have to be brutally honest with yourself about it. So that's why I say shoot to kill. Try to figure out, you know, and you know, get feedback from folks with a non-disclosure, of course, and listen to the critiques. And, you know, man, try to figure out what the holes are in the thing before you even spend a nickel on it. And keep doing that all the way along as well, before you spend more and more money on it, okay? Shoot to kill it, try to kill it. What's wrong with it? Does it have a fatal flaw? Man, we have hauled this thing up one side and down the other, and it's still shining. That's good. You know, that means you really gave it a good, you know, a good wire brushing. So that's important. Employ this, these are some buzzwords, DFM and DTC methodologies. That means design for manufacturer. That's very important. The product needs to lend itself to manufacturability. And also what's called DTC, design to cost. That means what you do is when you know, with your engineering team, you've identified what this thing, you know, you've identified what you think the market will bear in terms of the price, and then you backed up into what it has to cost to manufacture so that your margins are there. If you've established what the cost to manufacture shall not exceed, that's a key requirement that you need to give to your technical team and say, the design must be such that this thing has to cost X or less, right? That's designed to cost. We're working on that right now for a client. It's a new concept in a manure spreader for for farming, for fertilizing, and basically we're working this again in manageable bites. And the key requirement is that the design to cost, it must not cost more than $2,500. He's identified that he thinks suggested retail price on this unit could be $6,000, and he's established a design to cost of $2,500. Can't cost more than $2,500. If we cannot figure out, so right now one of our engineers is working under that as the key, you know, besides the function and how this thing needs to fling poop. The key thing is really, it needs to not cost more than $2,500 to manufacture it. And so, you know, he's working with fabricators and manufacturers and, you know, starting to get quotes on the pieces, parts, and working to simplify and all that. But at the end of the day, if we can't get there, we're going to stop. We're going to basically say, you know, this is as far as we could go. We can't meet the requirements. It means, you know, your product is just not feasible. And the original inventor, bless his heart, he's realistic about that. You know, he's going to be realistic about it. He's going to go, all right, well, maybe if it costs $4,000, it'll still work. You know, no, he's not going to do that. He's a practical Amish farmer. So anyway, that's an example of something that we're doing. And then, of course, echoing Roger, protect the resulting intellectual property. You know, don't tell people about this without disclosure. Get Roger involved to take a look at it. You know, as soon as you think you have something that may be patentable, etc. Okay. All right. So that's a little overview on the key product aspects, the product development. let's talk about the key business elements, because remember, like I said, it's the combination of these two things, the engineering innovation and the business innovation that have to come together. No more questions. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Good question. I see already a lot of money has just been spent on product there. You got to legal protection. Do you ever do a search prior to starting all that expensive stuff to see if there's already something that might make what you're trying to do not patentable?
Sure.
Not protectable?
Yeah.
Is that step number one? Or?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm assuming, this assumes though that it has been, that aspect has been vetted.
Step one.
Yeah, step one is, what's the competition out there? Right, yeah, right. What's the competition? You know, patent search, that's something that Roger does, you know. You can also do a lot of that yourself nowadays. Used to be much more difficult, but yeah, better to have Roger do it. He's very good at that. Yeah. So sure.
You can do product searches
Yeah,
there too. And,
indeed.
get a feel for competition, what things cost, state of the art,
Sure.
all that stuff.
Yeah. And like I said, so Marissa's been through the process. You've got a widget, you've got a gadget, you've looked, you can't find one out there. So that's kind of a good sign, right? Right, good
So what's
sign.
on the product search? I mean, you know, content process. Is that something a marketing person would do? That's not what you do as a marketer.
Yeah, that's just,
No, I'm sorry.
you know, general internet stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you know, by keyword. And then
Yeah.
searching, you know, all the internet portals and stuff.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, if you just search patents, you're just gonna get a piece
Right,
of what's out there.
Don't
If you
search
patent
patents,
it, There's
yeah.
a lot of products out there
right.
that have never been patented.
So you don't go to, say, Google Patents and search the patents? You don't search patents?
Yeah, that's too limited. Go to Google, go to Google and type in what this widget is that you're looking for, or that you have in mind, and see what comes up.
There's a lot of different
Start there.
levels of searching you can do, and
Yeah.
there's free classes at the Denver Public Library downtown
Mm-hmm.
to clue you in on more advanced patent search levels. But, you know, that should just be a piece of it, because you may not find a patent, but there might be a product lurking out there.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Okay.
Thank you.
So, sure. Good. Thanks for jumping in with the question. Okay, so remember, started off kind of saying that, you know, it's the melding of the business innovation and the technical innovation that, you know, at least that's the realm that I work in, because the products that I work on they're technical products. They're not really service products, or, you know, they're technical products, and they're typically mechanical or electromechanical in nature is the stuff that I do. That, you know, that we do, my team does. So let's talk about this business side of things. Right guy or gal, right product, right resources. So this is what we have a kind of a filter system now that we use. Someone comes into our firm with an idea on a napkin sketch, right? And when they come in to visit with us, we're not just looking at the product on the napkin sketch. We're also interviewing the prospective customer, right? Interviewing the prospective customer, trying to gauge a sense of, are they good communicators? Are they realistic? And so there's this vetting process that we do. And I'm going to talk more about that in a second. Then also the right resources. It does take money to do these things. And if it's the right guy or gal and it's the right product, the lack of resources is something that can be solved. in a number of different ways, crowdfunding, friends and family, kind of things. That's something that can be solved. Our company has even kind of put together this little informal angel network where we have a few guys that have some money that they'll play around with, and we'll stand up some of our clients in front of them and have them, give a pitch, for a particular widget, and see, if they can get some feedback and maybe some investment. I'd actually like to do a little bit more than that, because the lack of resources is something that is surmountable. What is not surmountable is like a product that really doesn't have a place. That's just not that good of a product. There's nothing that you can do to make chicken salad out of chicken shed. You just can't do it. You should stop if the market really has no interest in the thing. That's fatal. The other thing that's fatal is wrong guy or gal behind the product. The greatest product will absolutely be augured into the ground by the wrong person behind it. Whereas even a mediocre product can and will likely succeed if it's got the right person behind it. But if it's the wrong person, even the best product will fail. This is like hard lesson learned. I'm going to give you some case studies. Most of them center around wrong guy, right? Great product, wrong guy. Let's see. Okay. Again, this balance. Okay, this is working the business elements. Work the business plan just like the technical development. You have to be working both of these things this way, the technical development and the business side of the things, right? It needs to be a good balance, 50-50 emphasis, all right? In parallel, in steps, retire the risk and refine. Again, try to kill the thing. Figure out be really brutally honest with yourself, with your partners, and really try to figure out, what are the potential fatal flaws on this. That takes a lot of courage to do that, because we don't like to think poorly of our own ideas. In fact, always be on the lookout if someone starts saying my idea, the words my and idea in the same sentence, usually that could be, instead people are starting talking about saying things like an idea or the idea. That's a little bit more balanced type of ownership on the part of the person. Man, once it becomes my idea, that means there's personal ownership there that can sometimes difficult to shake, right? It's hard for us to admit when we're wrong. All right, I think I've done it like 3 times. I'm 61 years old. I probably have been wrong like maybe 3 times in 60 years. I don't know. All right, so let's see. Okay, so this business element. Define the business. Flesh out the 4 Ps: product, pricing, placement, and promotion. Remember, 2 are already done because of your technical development. Your technical development, you define the product as part of your technical development, and you also established what the price of it would be, so that your design team knew how to do the design so that they could meet the cost to manufacture target, right? So now you got to work out the placement and promotion aspects. Those are the other two of the 4 Ps. You got to build the right team. You got to develop funding options. You'll need way more money than you think. And then you start pitching. You start talking to folks about this. I say use existing resources. There is some help around. There's groups like this. There's the the Small Business Association, is SCORE still going? This presentation, I gave a similar one here a couple of years ago, so there's some slides from that, right? There's SCORE.
Yeah, SBA and SCORE.
Right, SBA SCORE, yeah, that's like, you know what that stands for?
Service Corps Retired Executive.
Okay, yes, thank you.
They presented here.
Oh, good.
SBA and SCORE.
Yep, these are retired executives that volunteer their time to work with entrepreneurs to, you know, kind of take a look at their business plan and, you know, give them some tips and what have you. That's available through the Small Business Administration. Okay, let's see. Okay, so here's another thing. Every venture must have a champion. This is really, really important. Usually it's the inventor, sometimes not. Maybe the champion is the business guy and the inventor is the idea guy. That's the way it was for like Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak of Apple Computer, right? Jobs was the marketing guy. I mean, he was a capable software computer engineer as well, but Wozniak was really the technical brains behind the thing, and Jobs was the front end man. That was a great, you know, a great partnership there. The key qualities, though, of this venture champion is that you have to be honest. And then there's a couple of other ones too. Like tireless, self-aware, and you need to be a good listener. But the most important thing is you need to be honest. You need to be a person. The champion must have integrity. They must know their own strengths and weaknesses. They must not be liars. They just need to be honest and have good integrity. That's a really important, a really important aspect of it. Okay. So, let's see. All right. So now let me tell you a couple of the things that we worked on at Applied Design. Before I do that, are there any more questions? And then I'll give you a couple of case history stuff. Okay. All right. So let me go on. So selected case studies and true confessions, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Our list of success stories, we've worked on a lot of different gadgets and gizmos for folks. But the list of success stories is short. The jury is still out on some. The list of mothballed or otherwise shipwrecked projects is the longer list, right? So this is not a rosy picture that I'm about to paint. So this is part of the process of honesty here, and how I've wondered, gosh, the common denominator about these projects that have gone up on the rocks is me. Maybe it was me. Maybe I didn't do enough to help move this thing forward or whatever. That's possible. But I don't think it's the case. So let me just tell you about a couple things here that I've encountered. Okay, this will be a little bit discouraging, but it's okay, because we just need to take this to heart. Is really what we need to do. Okay. All right. So there's 3 projects here that we've worked on over the last. Let's see. We started in 2001, right? So we've been in business basically 18 years. It'll be 19 years in July. I forgot to mention that. Sorry about that. So here's 3 little projects here that we did. Okay. So one of them was a new concept in a steerable jogging stroller. You've seen these. There's expensive strollers out there. One's called the Bob stroller. It's a tricycle or a 3-wheeled type stroller with a castered wheel in the front. This is one of the most popular jogging strollers. I don't know, it costs $400 or $500. We came up. Our customer came to us with a concept for a rear wheel steering jogging stroller, and my technical team did a really, really good job on coming up with a highly functional stroller package here that folded exquisitely, you know, really good. The guy behind it was really a great guy also. He was passionate. We patented it. Has it been abandoned? It's been abandoned, right? Right? We patented it with Roger. He had a little bit of money to throw at it. He was a chiropractor, and his wife wanted to move to Arkansas from here in Denver. That was difficult. And, you know, really $0 then once he moved to Arkansas, you know, much different economic situation there. Project basically got mothballed. We did put this product and concept in front of several different folks, a couple of different stroller manufacturers. We pitched it to them to see if they might be interested in looking at this to add to their product line, and didn't get any response there. It was a no. It's just, you know, it's really a good thing. It's still a good thing. But you know, this is another one. Okay, this is a cool deal. This is a fold-up cart. Go ahead.
So what ultimately killed it, other than moving, the wife wanted to move out? Didn't really kind of give us.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, what really killed it was just lack of financial resources to kind of keep pushing it down the road. What we needed, yeah, thank you. I didn't do a good job of closing on that one. A lack of resources to really push it to like a pre-production level. We had like early prototypes and some, but what it really needed to do was to get to a very high fidelity prototype.
Is that just computer generated?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but we needed to make that
A one-off.
a one-off, right? Which is a lot, you know, like as.
Because you kind of had a structural prototype, but it wasn't slicked up.
Absolutely not, right? We needed to make that, and to make that right there is basically like a pretty expensive car, like $50,000. Yeah, 50 grand to make one off, and so that was. We did not.
We
Just ran out of money with that. Yes.
What year was that?
What year? Let's see. Bear with me.
Mid 2000s?
It'd been 2008-ish. Yeah, 2008, 2000.
Now, you can even crowdfunding or something like that, probably.
Yes.
Yeah, it was before.
Good.
But he's
crowdfunding.
walked away from the idea and just let the patent expire, and now it's very expensive to bring it back.
Right.
So, that's too bad.
Right.
Yeah, it was totally patentable. It was just the commercial aspect and the startup of getting the business going.
A couple of other things happened too. One of the things about moving to Arkansas is that there were some former Walmart execs there. He pitched this to them, and they were pretty excited about it. So much so that they had a prototype, very rough prototype, built in China. Very rough prototype, just the functional chassis basically, but it completely lacked context in terms of really what the potential was there. He sort of went off, this customer, he went off and did this, kind of on his own, and I'm like, gosh, guy, what's the plan? What's your aim in doing that, and whatever. There was really like a loss of continuity there. Go ahead.
Yeah. So you said your guys developed it to fold really well. So they just on CAD or just on CAD?
CAD.
Right.
Yeah.
So it folded well on
Yeah.
CAD, but not necessarily.
Yeah, well, had we built the $50,000 rig
Yeah.
that looked like that, only a photograph,
Yeah.
yeah, it would have been beautiful. Yeah, it would have.
But it never did get that far.
No, never did
Okay,
get
no,
that.
just- I'm just
No,
trying
it's
to
okay.
visualize it.
No, it's all good. Here's the next one. Okay, so this is kind of a cool idea. You didn't do the patent on this, although, right? So this is called the Carnival. This is a guy in Denver who he was a minister, and he used to lived in California, and he used to like to do group fellowship on the beach out of California. And so it always drove him crazy how, you know, he needed to drag all his crap down to the beach and whatever. And then you get down there and you also don't have anything that you can put stuff on, no table, no anything to do these little meetings. So he kind of came up with this idea of this system that's this folding apparatus that you can quickly deploy. It turns into a cart. You throw your beach crap in it. You take it down to the beach. And then something magical happens. It turns into a table, which there isn't anything like that out there that does that. A table on the beach for your lunch to keep the sand out of it and all this kind of stuff is an exquisite thing. I know this because I grew up on the beach. My wife and I, our family, we like to vacation, you know, get to the ocean when we can. And, you know, sand on your sandwich sucks. A table is a very civilized and wonderful thing on the beach. So to be able to have a cart that you can pull your crap down to the beach and then poof, it's a table that gives it adjustable heights where you could either sit around it or you could lounge around it, you know, great idea, right? And look, we built this thing as basically like a pre-production prototype. You know, this is how it folded throw it in the back of the car. This is a very large unit, you know, but folded in the back of the car. In a matter of seconds, the thing pops open and the sides come up and the gates latch. Uh-oh. Let's see what happened there.
Maybe it's advanced, I think.
Beep, beep, beep. Sorry. It pops open, turns into this big cargo thing. It's got nice little wheels here that float on the sand. And down you go from the parking lot to the beach. And then in a matter of seconds, it transforms into a table. It's got a hole in it. You stick your umbrella in there. 3 different height settings. You know, the idea of this being sort of like a kind of a high-end piece, $269, $279. Probably could have sold the hell out of this thing, right? Really a good product. The guy behind it was passionate. He was honest. He had really no means of his own whatsoever, no personal wealth or really assets. He was a very, just a fairly, you know, just kind of barely made ends meet kind of a guy. He was also extremely pig-headed. Felt he was, you know, that he really had the answers to get this moving, and he mostly liked to transmit rather than receive, right? Transmit. So he was a very difficult client to manage. So difficult, in fact, that ultimately we fired him as a client, right? We fired the customer. You know, sometimes you just got to do that, right? We fired the customer. And, which was a real shame because we had introduced him to a company that's one of the largest companies that makes beach crap, folding chairs, umbrellas, and they look at a lot of products that come from the outside, and most of the time nothing spins their spurs. This one they liked. This one they really liked, and we were trying to help him craft like a licensing deal on this thing. And he just kind of wouldn't get out of his own way, and the deal tanked. So frustrating. I can't tell you. All right, so let's see. Okay. Sorry. Oops. Next one. Okay, this is another fantastic thing. Okay, so you all know about high performance crossbows. You know, archery hunting is a big deal now. You know, there's firearms hunting, but there's also archery hunting. Very advanced 300 plus feet per second, you know, compound bows. But there's also a large industry in crossbows for hunting, particularly for older folks that no longer have the physical strength to draw a very powerful compound bow. The crossbow is actually something that is mechanically cocked, and then it stays in the cocked position until you're ready to take the shot, right? And then there's mechanical lever to recock it. Okay, so there's some fabulous crossbows out there on the marketplace right now. Some of them upwards of $2,000 to $2,500. All right. So this guy comes to us, referred by a very trusted associate of mine. This guy comes to us. He's got a new concept in a crossbow, which is actually, most crossbows, the energy is stored in the limbs, but they're graphite epoxy, and the energy is stored the energy is, geez, how could that happen? Sorry, guys. The energy is stored in the limbs. Hang on. The energy is stored in the limbs. In his crossbow, it was an ancient weapon that in ancient warfare called the ballista. And the ballista was actually like a giant bow, but the energy wasn't stored in the bending of the limbs. The energy was actually stored in the winding of animal sinews around the axis of rotation of the limbs. I mean, they could hurl serious missiles with this, right? It was called the ballista. So this guy came up with a concept for this, and this is a beautiful thing because this thing works with two torsion tubes right here, that when you cock the limbs, the torsion tubes, which are graphite epoxy torsion tubes, they twist and they store a tremendous amount of energy. So this thing showed promise of being able to exceed conventional crossbow performance. Okay, he comes to us with this thing that he had another engineer working on, and that engineer had basically kind of come up against a wall of his own. He reached the limit of his capability. So we took this basket case, and one of my key guys was able to recraft this thing and create a design that was really promising. We built a prototype, we presented the prototype. You know, we worked with this guy very collaboratively along the way. He spent about $120,000 with us, I guess, to move this thing along. Great product. He had friends and family money. Again, another fellow with very little personal means. Turns out he was less than honest, not a good listener, and unfortunately not a good deal maker. And this is something that I want to talk about here. He took the prototype to a large crossbow manufacturer and said, I have something that is revolutionary, and here it is. This is the engineering model that we designed and built for him. He took it to one of the bigs, and they looked at it and they said, wow, that is revolutionary. This is good. We would like to put a licensing deal together with you to bring this onto our product line. Okay? Now, I helped him craft the pitch for this kind of joint development agreement. And one of the things that I told him was, I said, listen, here's what's going to happen. It's executives that are going to have made this deal with you, and they're going to bring this prototype to their engineering group, and they're going to say, look at what we just licensed from this inventor. And that engineering group group is a bunch of prideful engineers, just like we all are, with their own ideas. Remember I said my idea? And the boss is gonna come in and say, we just licensed this deal, make something great out of it. That's really hard to convince engineers to do. They're like, boss, this is a piece of shit. Look, here's what we're gonna do, boss. We got ideas about this, right? We got ideas about this and whatever. So I begged the guy, do not just throw this thing over the wall to this other engineering group. And he's going like, oh, they have like a PhD on the team. And I'm like, oh, that's even worse. That's even worse. And he's the kind of guy that sort of thinks that engineers are like plug and play modules. It doesn't matter which engineer is working on it. As long as it's an engineer, things ought to go great. In the meantime, I had like our most gifted engineer was the lead engineer on this product. And so for him to take the product, find a licensee, and then put full faith in their team to move this thing to the next step, I begged him not to do that. And instead he didn't listen, and he did that. And instead of them getting this thing done and ready for market like in a few months, which was 2.5 years ago, finally they came up with this rough prototype that is horrific. It's not even near going to market. The thing will probably die because they're really not, the engineering group is really not that good at this. This is a brand new, crazy thing. And, what he should have done is insisted, what he saw were dollar signs. He had a licensing deal where he could get paid an advance on royalties for this, and thought he could just throw it over the wall. And they even told him, job well done, Adam, we'll take it from here. And I go, it's never gonna work. They're not gonna have the passion for it. They have no experience with this. What you need to do is craft an agreement with them that basically insists that it is a co-development effort, and part of the money for the royalties needs to go to fund his team to create a collaboration. And he would just not do that. He felt they would work miracles. They did not. This product is, probably not gonna make it. What they built doesn't even work. And so this is the thing. So again, in the final analysis, wrong guy, right? Great product, wrong guy. Wouldn't listen. Go ahead.
Was there a patent on this design?
Oh yeah, he has several different patents on this. Mm-hmm. Several different ones, some of which we had added to the art, and others he had before.
Did he build himself an out?
Yeah, I mean, there's an out where he could say, like, if there's non-performance on the licensing deal, on the license, that he could, he could basically walk. Yeah, he did, but he won't do that. He'll muck along. So again, wrong guy. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So
No.
I'm very interested in licensing deal. So you were kind of saying what he should have done was work a royalty into it, but how does that help his development team if it's not in production? Because you don't get a royalty until something sells.
Yeah, what you do is you do what's called an advance on royalties. You sit down and you craft an agreement with a prospective licensee where you ask them to estimate, to share with you what their target marketplace is that they're gonna go after, like a 5-year plan. They basically lay out a 5-year plan for how many they think they can sell, at what price, and at what profit margin. And then you negotiate a percentage of sales on that projected plan. And you ask them for basically the first year or 2 years of royalties on the expected sales. And you ask for that in advance. That's what book companies do to pay authors. Advance on royalties. Right.
So it sounds to me like you needed a really good attorney that specializes in this type of law and this contract law for new products. And are there attorneys like that that specialize in that? Like,
No.
if they're, you have a back pocket full of names of people that are really good at protecting the clients?
Desi,
kind of an intersection.
that's not what was wrong.
Huh?
That's not what was wrong.
No?
What was wrong was, I just need to grab a bubbles of water over there, but, he wouldn't listen to crafting the right kind of deal. It wasn't a matter of finding the right person. He wasn't the right person. He wasn't the right person. Because it would have been very easy. There he had this deal. They were interested in this thing. And all he really needed to do was essentially insist on like this multi-part agreement that basically said, if you want this product, here's the way we're going to work on this together. And he needed to have the courage enough for them to say, that won't work. And then he takes his toys and goes find somebody else. But he didn't have the courage to do that. So it isn't a matter of like not finding the right talent to help craft the deal. He needed to do it in a way that kept his team part of the process of bringing this thing forward. Right?
Right.
Do you think the engineers of that company, they didn't have the passion or ownership of it? It wasn't invented there, and it was just kind of thrust on them, and they maybe didn't do as good a job, or they weren't thinking in that innovative way.
Exactly.
And
right. So so the
because
team.
your client sounds like he just goes, I'm going to hand it off. I'm done with this thing. You take care of it, and that's a recipe for disaster.
No, well, exactly.
Right.
And it's
You gotta stay involved.
it's not like he was done with it. He had great ideas and a good deal of passion behind it. What he did not realize was that keeping our team involved in this was really the secret to success in it, because the continuity gets lost, just like Roger was saying. And like I'm saying, the executives come into the engineering team and they go, hey guys, look what we just licensed. And the engineers look at that and they go, no, this is crap. We can do much better than this. And they want to go and work their ideas. So, that's always going to happen. All right, I got a summary slide. Any other questions about this? No? Okay. All right, so I'm gonna wrap up along how am I doing on time? Am I doing okay on time?
Yes.
This is fine? Okay. All right. Okay.
I might have missed the key to success there, so I hope I didn't miss the whole, the whole crux of it. But you were saying, it seems like you were saying that coming up against another team of engineers is.
I'm gonna talk more about this. I am. This is a pet peeve of mine that I have not figured out exactly how to solve yet. I'm not going to tell you about, I just want you all to know about it, because as you move your stuff forward, you're going to encounter this, and it's really important, okay? So let's go through the summary here. This is a very difficult process, creating a business out of a widget. There's lots of obstacles. You have to take the long view and be, exquisitely patient. And if you have a spouse, that spouse also needs to be exquisitely patient with the thing. because you're gonna drag him or her into this as well. And so, plan to spend more than you think, expect to fundraise, seriously consider licensing. The closest deals that we've been able to execute for our clients in the final analysis have been licensing deals, right? So we had like that cartable product that somebody wanted to license, and then we had the crossbow product that somebody did license. We have another little widget that I don't have up here that we're in the process of getting started with a couple of potential licensees on this little piece of fishing tackle, basically, is what it is. The good thing about licensing is that what you're doing is that you're relying on your licensee to basically take care of the 2 of the 4 Ps, the placement and the promotion of the product, which is really, that is very, very difficult. All the Ps are hard. All 4 Ps are hard to get at. But the placement and the promotion of the thing is difficult. So what a licensing deal allows you to do is you're able to make use of the maybe Roger, what I'll do is I'll come back and give a talk someday on licensing, the good, the bad, and the ugly on that. What you're doing is you're relying on your licensee's network and channels and capital resources as well. If they're an up and running large company, capital resources as well to use their channels and to push the product out and get it on the market for you. In exchange, you get what I call mailbox money, right? Like a royalty check comes in the mail. That's great, right? It's usually a very small single-digit % of the sales price, but it can be, can be lucrative if it's a really good widespread product. So the licensing thing is good. However, the pitfalls of the licensing is if it's a tricky technical product, you have to ensure that there's good continuity in the technical development from your team into their team. The crossbow was one such where there was a huge failure there because our customer would not insist with its licensee that continuity be maintained. So likely that will die. The cartable project, that convertible thing that turns it's a cart or it's a table and all this kind of stuff. The licensee that we had identified that was very interested in this case, we found that licensee. In the crossbows case, he found the licensee. We found the licensee for the cartable. And I tried to make the case. I knew, here's what I knew. I knew that the prospective licensee, the company, and the owner of the company, he's a bazillionaire because he sells beach crap all over the world, right? Family-owned business, billions in sales, beach crap all over the world. I could tell that the guy was a tinkerer. He was the kind of guy that if the product came in, he licensed a product, he would immediately figure out how it could become his product, right? And his idea. I could just tell that about him. And I was really concerned about that because I have the ultimate faith in my team in being able to advance stuff. And this continuity of a shift from one team to another is very important. And I could not convince my cartable customer. My cartable customer thought that I was self-dealing by basically saying, we need to stay part of this. Basically the same, was saying the same words to him as I said to our crossbow guy. Neither of them listened to me, and both things failed. The problem is, it sounds like self-dealing, right? Of course I'm saying this to them because I want to keep the business of moving their product forward. This is really not the case. You know, it's essential for that team continuity, right? But it comes off badly, right? It's like, you need to keep me on the team, Desi. You need to keep Applied Design on the team, even though you're going to license this to XYZ company. And you're thinking, dang, Michael, you know, we paid you a bunch of money to do this. You've done your part. XYZ Corporation is interested in licensing this, taking it, and I'm going to get mailbox money. And so I'm talking to you, begging for us to stay involved in the project and getting paid to support the product, moving into manufacturing. And you might think, oh, I don't want to pay anymore. I want any royalties I get from this thing. I need to recoup my investment and whatever. And, it's like a really hard sell for me to sell you on that idea, but it's really, really important. Yeah. But it's difficult to sell because it sounds like I'm self-dealing. You're thinking, oh, Michael, you're just saying that so that, you stay involved in the project and I keep paying you for it. And I'm telling you, no, Desi, that's not it. You really need the continuity of the team to be able to try to work in partnership with the licensing, right? This is making sense, right, guys? You understand the conflict that it represents, though, right? So that's why I say, build the right team, be sure it's complete, and keep it together. Keep it together all the way through. Insist that it stays together if you have a licensing deal ongoing, right? And then, persevere. It's mind-numbing. You just banging your head against the wall, and you just got to keep at it and try for success. So anyway,
this license, this guy, this person that's right in front of this company, he went by himself, or did he have a representative with him? Do you know?
I know that, no, he went by himself. The crossbow guy, the crossbow guy, he went by himself, took the engineering model, said, look at this thing, plunked it down on the conference room table, and they're like, wow, that is really cool. We want to do a deal with you, right? And so, it basically that's kind of how it went down. It was a process or whatever, but
it's not your business. It's not your business to help him do his business.
Yes, well, that's kind of what I was saying about like our firm is that we bring this. It's not just technical, it's the business aspects that we help. A lot of our clients have hired us to do both things, both the technical development and the business stand up. If I told people really kind of in a nutshell what Applied Design is really set up to do is to build an enterprise for our customers. And we're doing some of that. We're some of our customers, we're actually doing like early stage production for them, and we're helping them, fulfill orders and get some products, get the business stood up until, we use our infrastructure to do that, and so it is in our bailiwick to do it. Had I been invited to go along, it wouldn't have made any difference because my customer thinks engineers are just plug and play modules, that they're just they're commodities like grains of rice. Any grain of rice is as good as another. If it's white rice, one grain is as good as another. That's the way he thinks of engineers, especially ones that have a PhD. That's a really nice grain of rice. Just not true. Just didn't have the right mindset for that. I'm hoping I'm explaining that okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know seems like there's an element missing in your platform as far as, or his team, I should say, maybe not your team, but his team, to go forward with this to another company and doing it by himself. And not wanting to take an engineer would probably be something that he didn't want to do, but he should have been taking someone who knew it, say someone in law.
Was it death sentence when he got on the plane?
Well, okay, so this is, like, this is kind of similar to Desi, that your thought was like, gosh, did he not have the right guy on the team?
Well, it sounds like he had the right team with you guys, he just wasn't willing to protect himself as he talked to a licensee. It's like, I would never walk into a room of a company and talk licensing without having some serious ammunition with me and people.
Except it wasn't, but my point is that it wasn't, he did not understand the importance of like, if you take one thing away from tonight, just the importance of technical continuity is really, really important. That's really important, and that is something that's easily missed. That was not valuable to my customer. He didn't understand the vital importance of allowing his team, insisting that his team be allowed to shake hands and basically integrate with the licensee's team. He just didn't understand that this is the way that product needed to work, not us over here basically being off the program and then these engineers over here taking this thing and trying to do something with it that the boss dropped on their desk, right? Wasn't important to my customer. He didn't understand how vital that was. That's my point. Go ahead.
Well, your two examples are effectively you have two inventors who know nothing or very little about the business. And they shouldn't be in the business of handling their own affairs in that case. They need to hire somebody that's competent to do that.
Well, as long as that guy, yeah, except as long as that guy or gal, whoever they hired, understands the importance of technical continuity. They might not. It's kind of an easy thing to miss. You can't, there's just something about that. That's the one thing that I want you to take with you,
You're arguing technical continuity, but you're not doing production. And that's your point that you're making. They are moving it from what amounts to a prototype into a production environment through a licensing agreement, and they better keep their technical team together or nothing's going to get done because it wasn't invented here.
Exactly. That is what I'm saying.
That's business.
Yeah, that's business. If you recognize the importance of the technical, of how the technical and the business have to stay married, right? Which, it's the synergy, right?
Don't a lot of licensees, they want to change the design though? I mean, they may claim, well, we need to convert it for high volume production, or we feel to make it marketable, it has to change a certain way, and then a lot of times they may take it outside the patent.
Yes.
Or they want to put their own stamp on it.
All of that would be, yes, Roger, sure.
I mean, I've heard that from clients.
Of course. However, listen, what really happened. What really happened is that this group of engineers, including the PhD, who was like the leader of this thing, struggled to create a functional prototype that was not even as advanced as the one that he plunked down on the conference room table when he went to show them this concept. So they didn't make it better. They started from scratch with no experience. They didn't do a good job of doing that. I would, as an engineer, I would, if something got plunked down in front of me, I would be like, who did this? Who did this? I want to talk to them. They need to be part of this team. They know what it took to do this. See, that's being honest and, you know, and being open. Again, like I said, it's a lot of the people aspects of
So
those.
we have a physical prototype we laid down, and they just abandoned that and started from scratch.
Basically, that's what happened. I mean, in fairness, my customer did have another concept in mind that was a fairly radical departure from what he put down in front of them, but there's still a lot of stuff they could have learned from us about what worked and what didn't work. So anyway, I don't want to pound this too much, but anyway, so yeah, so that's it. Any other questions? It's a difficult thing to do, but
On the cart, were they gonna change it if the deal would have went through?
yeah, you know, Roger, I don't know, but it would have happened. It would have been a lot less functional probably, but I knew from a story that I heard about this guy who owns this company. He was a known tinkerer, and I just knew that if that's what was going to happen,
With his mark on it, so to speak.
and there's just too much nuance with it. You know, 1 year later, we would have seen what he tinkered with and came up with, and probably just wouldn't have been that good. He would have gotten frustrated. This thing will never work. I never should have licensed this from these guys. Nah, wrong. You should have licensed it from us, and then you should have recognized that, you know, you hire our team to work with you so that the nuance of it all ends up being part of the new design, right?
In Texas, they call it dance with the one that brought you.
There you go, right? Exactly. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on this whole thing.
Well, you may have gotten a job from him.
What's that?
You may have gotten a job from that billionaire.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, all right, so that's it. Thank you so much for listening.
Slit our wrists. Do you have any success stories?
Well, yes, we do have a,
one.
sure, we have a success story. But it's not a private sector success story. It's actually something that our company has been working on for the U.S. Department of Agriculture and Department of Defense. It's an airborne baiting system for invasive species control. Basically flies on board a helicopter, and we have this manufacturing system that makes these specialty little baits and whatever. And it's been a long drawn out process with this government client. But we've productized this thing, and it's what we'll probably do is, now that all of their technical risk is retired and the system is proven to work, likely what will happen is that they'll get the funding together to basically move this out into large scale deployment. And we'll end up spinning this out of our company as like a standalone enterprise to manufacture these baits. So that was an example of an enterprise of an opportunity that in-house, we had actually discovered this need, and we made we did some conceptual designs and presented it, and they said, wow, that looks good. And of course, being the government, there's good financial resources there for something that's needed. I do think that the marketplace for this, our first customer for this will be the government, U.S. Department of Agriculture, but I wish that the marketplace was a little bit more broader than that, and maybe it will be, but it's a reasonable place to start. So that's a good story that we've got here. We've got a couple of other private sector things too that are that are, that are ongoing. The jury is still out a little bit, but we're being a lot more selective about the customers that we are supporting. Like I told you, right guy or gal, right product and right resources. This is like, we really look things, now on in my interview process, I'll say, listen, here's one thing that's really important. If we end up moving this thing forward for you, and there's a licensing deal in place, and I tell you that, that I feel that it's important that there's continuity in the team, I want you to agree that you will, that we will move in that direction. I mean, that's going to be part of my vetting process, going forward. It's 2 times this is happening, Any other questions?
Was his hang-up that he was gonna have to deliver some equity to you guys, or?
No, he was gonna, we had, that's another thing. We do exchange a little bit of the work that we do for some equity in the venture, sort of give like a little bit of a discount. We use that, we convert that to equity. We had already done some of that for him. If he wanted us on board, he was gonna need to siphon off, he was gonna need to share some of, essentially, pay us for our services by, sharing some of his royalty, essentially.
That's the continuity, right?
That's the continuity. He would have had to pay for it, or he would have had to, that's one way. The other way, and the way that we're really angling for it is like, look, part of money the flow of money that's going to come from the licensee needs to be shot out in 2 streams. One to you for your advance on royalties, and one to us as the co-development team on this or something, right? It would have taken money, right?
Maybe part of the problem is the inventors needs to get some professional business help to kind of guide that part of it, the commercialization end. I think inventors, kind of stay more technically oriented. Because it's 2 different skills sort of, and I think that the inventor might, be more prone to mistakes on business decisions.
Well, that's very similar to your comment there, very similar to yours. What's that?
The world of difference between moving it from design to manufacturing.
Absolutely true. But again, don't.
But I know that, I can see that I know people ask me, and it's like, it's hard to find the right business person. It really is. It's critically important.
Yeah, except just don't lose this knight in shining armor, folks.
It's a theory.
I don't know. I mean, it's the technical, please don't miss this. The technical continuity is really important right there. Keep the team together, as the thing moves to the next step. That's the key thing, Not so much the knight in shining armor, just the continuity aspects. Anyway, you had it.
I was just gonna say, I'm sitting on a licensing proposal from the manufacturer right now that I have to respond to in the next day or so.
Mhm.
Okay. So I was going to say that it really gets down to whether or not you want the low bidder or you want a partner for a manufacturer. Because there's a lot of manufacturers out there that make the same components, whether.
I would see them more as a partner, because your success is dependent on them.
But if you're gonna look to be a partner, if they can't get the vision, and you remember how he said this to guy, well, with the slide set invisibly and his vision, okay, for hopefully everything, including the business plan and the whole next 5 years.
Yes.
For the project. Without that vision, you have nothing.
Yeah, that vision needs to become a shared vision then. You have the vision, but then it needs to become a shared vision. And so see, and this is really the people aspect of it. That's important. It needs to be the right, things need to come together. It becomes a marriage, Partnerships are really, really difficult. you know, marriages are difficult, business partnerships are difficult.
Your bow and arrow guy was a perfect example. They didn't get the vision or the passion behind the vision to pursue it the way it was originally put together and presented to them. They ended up going off into the forest and who knows where they are.
Yeah.
And so your manufacturer that wants to partner with you has got damn well be on board and be a part of the vision and not saying, well, we're gonna change it all after we get this size.
Yeah, and like you say, you know, that's why I said, I went through a lot of different stuff. A lot of it is human nature stuff, you know, that makes this thing. It isn't really about the socket head cap screws. It's really mostly about the people and pride and integrity and like I said, somebody plunks something down in front of me and says, you know, check this out, and I know that they didn't do it, I'm gonna be like, who did this? Where are they? What's behind this? You know, what's the story? And anyway, so that's it for me for tonight. Thanks a lot, guys, gals. Thanks.
Oh,